Here are 9 takeaways from going sober for 90 days in 2020. Welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast. I'm your host, Deepak Sharma, and I'm trying something a little bit new. People have kind of told me that I should get into solo podcasting and get on here and just rant because, I like to do that a lot. It's super weird for me because I just feel super weird just talking to a camera in a room all alone. But got to get out of your comfort zone. That's what I always talk about. So practice what you preach. I think I'm just gonna get on here and just rant about things like leveling up. That's pretty much what I'm all about. I love personal development. I really like trying to get better in many different areas of life. So I figured I'd share some of those lessons with you guys as well. I would love to hear some feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the podcast as well. And so let's just get into it. The first episode of I think I'm going to call this the journey to success because I feel like I'm not successful yet, but I will be. And why not join me on the journey and the road to getting there? So anyways, getting back to it, I think this first episode is going to be about 9 things I learned going sober for 90 days. And this is something that's a little weird to talk about because I'm by no means an addiction specialist or a therapist or in any position to be telling you how you should live your life, and I'm not here to judge you or anything like that. But so I'll preface this to say that if you do feel like you might have a problem, seek professional help. But I'll just share with you my kind of experience and my journey. So for me, I've never really considered myself as somebody like with a problem with alcohol or substances. By many standards, I'd be considered an average drinker, someone who'd have a drink here or there, going out to a bar or a club or going out with some friends or just having a drink. I'm not proud of these things. These are not things to boast or brag about. But anyways, all that to say, back in 2019, I decided I'm going to do 1 month completely sober. And so I decided to do the month of September. I did September completely sober, and that was interesting. I found it really difficult. And so I kind of resolved to, for 2020 to do at least 2 months sober. And here I am 3 months later, completely not having done any of those substances. And I just wanted to kind of talk about some of my takeaways from that. And I'm always striving to experiment with myself and see what substances have a control over me, and what things that I can live without, or what I do enjoy. And one of those things was coffee. I'm gonna keep coffee in my life, so that's the one thing that I did not give up for this past 3 months. But otherwise, I went cold turkey on everything. So let's just get into it. The first thing is so the first few weeks are very weird. That was the main takeaway there. If you're used to cracking up a cold one on a Friday night, partying with friends on the weekend, or even enjoying some wine with dinner, the first few weeks can feel super weird. Like, we are creatures of habit, and if you are used to just having a drink here and there, or going out with your buddies, or letting loose, it's definitely gonna be a bit of a change. You're disrupting your habits, and you start to question, like, man, was I an alcoholic? Like, did I have a problem? You just that was kind of the first thing that I was like, okay, well, this is kind of weird. The second thing is alcohol is everywhere. And when I say everywhere, like, I mean, wherever you go, you realize when you're sober that alcohol is absolutely everywhere. Look, I love to drink. I like that feeling of having a drink and your shoulders kind of letting loose after a long day of stress and pressure. But um, I just feel like it's become so ingrained and normalized in our society to have a drink that it's almost like you're almost the weird person if you don't have a drink. And I experienced that as well. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, so, you know, every corner you go, there's some kind of bar, restaurant, club that's serving alcohol. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just you really realize how prevalent it is when you're not having a drink or even a smoke or whatever this substance may be. This kind of applies to a lot of things. Um, so yeah, that was kind of number two. Number three, this one's really obvious, but I think we do lose sight of it, is that alcohol is literally poison. It's something that we almost celebrate and like we use it as something to let loose, like I said before. And it's wine o'clock. I see those memes and all that kind of stuff. But you have to remember that at the end of the day, your body doesn't care about all that. It still has to process the alcohol. Your liver is working overtime. You're becoming dehydrated. Um, I'm no scientist or medical expert or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's not good for your brain and development. And you guys can look into all that kind of stuff yourself. I'm not gonna sit here and like spout off a bunch of studies about the dangers of alcohol. It's pretty obvious. It's something that we all know, but we just kind of accept and just it is what it is, because we enjoy it. And trust me, I'm not trying to be on some kind of high horse here. Like I'm better than you because I did this thing. Like that's not the angle I'm trying to go out here. It's just kind of just like a reminder, you know, that yeah, like alcohol is poison, man. Um, Number four, so you start to learn who really has your back. Social situations can be the biggest challenge when you're getting off drinking. Once you kind of get past the first few weeks and that hump of like, not just drinking just to drink or, your normal habits, it actually becomes pretty easy to just not have a drink. Like even if you have some at your house, you're just like, I'm just not gonna have it. Like that's okay. It's the social situations where you can get trapped and feel that FOMO, fear of missing out. And then I just find it like that was probably one of the most challenging parts. Is like, I think I started it February 1st, and to all my football fan friends out there, the Super Bowl is February 2nd. So I can't remember a Super Bowl where I didn't get hammered or just have a bunch of drinks. And so that was like my first test. And even some people were like, yo, just have a drink. And anytime I'd go out to a bar or a club or a restaurant and everyone's drinking, you feel that peer pressure. And then people would even hand you shots and you'd be like, oh no, I'm good. And like you'd be met with like, what do you mean? Like almost like people would be like, yo, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Like, yeah, everything's fine. I'm just taking a little break from drinking. And so, you know, I would say that like 98% of people are extremely supportive when you kind of explain to them what you're doing and your reasons for it and whatever. But even then, you'll still have people who might even mean well, like honestly, but they'll just be like, "Yo, just one shot. Like, what's one shot gonna do?" And it's like we all know that just one shot or like the just one drink is never just one drink. So um, I will give myself a pat on the back for never slipping up even once, because it's just so easy to make exceptions like, oh, it's this person's birthday, or oh, this person just got married, or oh, you're on a date, or oh, this, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, if I'm in the camp, like if you're doing something, just do it right. But yeah, you start to really learn who's got your back, and you start to realize, okay, well, some people really do have your best interests at heart, and even those who like you might explain to them like, yo, I'm just not drinking right now, and they'll turn around and be like, yo, I appreciate that. Like, I like the wave that you're on. Like, blah blah blah. Talk to me about it. Or hey, like, why don't you get this non-alcoholic drink? Or like, yo, why don't here's this or some alternative. Like, you really, like, you take note of that. Like, okay, yo, this person actually like understands and gets it. Um, so yeah, like, you realize who you can kind of look in the eye and say like, yo, this person, understands what you're trying to do. So number 5 is your productivity skyrockets. Now, I can't stress this point enough. The easiest way to illustrate this, if you're a social drinker like me, or just having a drink on Friday or Saturday nights, um, you just earn 2 extra days in your week. I cannot stress enough how detrimental hangovers and just being dehydrated and staying up late and eating shitty food, which are all things that kind of come with drinking, for the most part. Those things are not good for your productivity. Like, I don't care how you want to cut it. I'm absolutely one of those people who, when even when I go on a bender or go out all night or something like crazy night, I'll still get whatever I needed to get done that like next day. But what I've realized from all this is I'm just a shell of who I can be when when I was sober. Like, when I was sober, I got my Saturdays and Sundays back, if you will. Like, I straight up was just crushing it and reaching all my goals on the weekend when many people were recovering or not even awake yet. And that's not to put anyone down. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm better than anybody. It's literally just, we're all capable of this. It's just taking a second to examine our own habits and behaviors. So, to me, one of the biggest things on that whole productivity note is, you might think that you're somebody who's still going to wake up and go to the gym. You're still going to, get the work done or go to work or do whatever you like had to do that day. But what you don't know is how much better you could be at those things if you're not battling against your body and, all the inflammation and all the dehydration and all those things, like, all kind of ties into that. But getting your productivity back was a huge takeaway for me, and I've been able to, in this past 3 months, do things that it might have taken me a year to do those things. So, like, I can't stress this point enough that, your productivity is really, really going to improve if you take some time off. Number 6, alcohol keeps you from dealing with your own emotions. Now, when you stop drinking, even that first week or 2 weeks, like, you might actually be sad. Like, from my personal experience, I was like, bro, this kind of sucks, man. Like, it's Friday, I just want to crack open a beer or have a couple of drinks with some friends, or just, it comes back to kind of my earlier point that, this is just the societal, like, this is just your habits and society and your environment, and you've just gotten used to this. But when you stop cold turkey drinking or smoking or whatever, you have to deal with your own emotions head on. And that's a crazy revelation, because having to sit there with your own thoughts and feel everything, it's incredible. Like, you learn to appreciate the good and the bad, and ride the waves of emotions that you might have with daily events and things going on. Like I was sober during the when COVID really started ramping up, and this would normally, in normal circumstances in my life, be an excuse for me to stay at home and just drink and just chill or have friends over, or just just numb any emotions or pain or anything that I'm feeling. So, kind of the big point there is, like, being sober allows you to just be comfortable with yourself, and just be alone with your own thoughts and be you. And actually, I said it's being comfortable, but it's actually being comfortable being uncomfortable. So, damn, man, like that's actually kind of deep. I know I say this podcast is not that deep, but sometimes it's fucking deep. This one, number 7. This is a big one for anyone who's still listening to this. You save a ton of money from not drinking alcohol. Like, an insane amount of money. The shit's not cheap. And I don't care if you're somebody who just has a bottle of wine once a week, $15, whatever, and you just, whatever, you allocate that. That adds up as well. But then when I started examining my budget and seeing exactly how much I was spending on, liquor stores like the LCBO or beer store, even grocery stores, bars, clubs, fucking clubs, or even, all the kind of costs that are associated with that, the Ubers that you have to take, the late night food, and obviously if you want to be like crazy like me and kind of factor in the opportunity cost of what you're not doing the next day, which ties back into the productivity, it costs you a lot of money to just have a couple of drinks. So kind of I'm not proud to admit this, but you know I would spend on average anywhere between $250 to $600 a month on this habit, is what I was noticing. And that that's not a small amount of money. So all this to say, the ROI of drinking, like, evaluate it. Is the return on investment that high that you're willing to spend money that you could invest in many different areas of your life? I would say for the most part, it's not. And that's not to that's not to say quit drinking and never have a drink again. That's just, I'm not telling you to do that, but just, the same people who will, complain about not having any money, or, oh, I can't afford this, or, this or that, will also be in the same category as me without even realizing it. So, number 8. So you take ownership of all the good and bad in your life when you go sober. Um, once you take a break and realize, like, you start to feel everything again, and it goes back to kind of, just dealing with your own emotions. You realize that you're 100% in control of how you react to whatever good and bad happens in your life. That's a big lesson I learned from not drinking. And for me, uh, taking ownership is very important, because no one is responsible for you and your life more than you. And I don't want to go too deep into this, but you are in control of how you react to everything that happens in your life. And when you stop drinking, you're able to take that control a lot better. And then this one, number 9, kind of to top it off. I could go on this list for way longer, but I wanted to do 9. So this one, and it's basically, after a few drinks, alcohol makes everyone stupid. There's no other way for me to put this. Honestly, I've realized that alcohol is stupid juice. Um, it's not a bad thing per se. Sometimes it's good to just let loose and be silly, right? But you know, anyone who's been sober around a group of people who are drunk knows how silly the things people say are, how they act is so stupid, and like your decision making capability is just ridiculous. Like, just being around people who are like super drunk when you're dead sober is like no pun intended, very sobering. You're like, holy shit, like this person just really say that? Like, yo, this person just do this? Like, it's crazy. And then you realize, oh shit, I've been that person. I've been on that side of it so much, like probably every night that I get fucked up. So kind of just something to keep in mind there. That's my list. That's my 9 things. And, again, I could probably keep going, but I'm going to end this off with a quote that was shared to me by a mentor of mine. And I believe it's a quote by F. Scott Fitzgerald that said, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." So with that being said, to celebrate 90 days of sobriety and everything that I've learned, I've taken a recommendation of a good friend of mine, shout out to Japheth, and I bought this expensive-ass whiskey called Oban. So it's about $180. I'm gonna pour myself a glass, man. It's a pretty beautiful bottle. I recognize the irony in this. After literally listing off 9 reasons why you shouldn't drink, or substances and this and that, kind of my 10th takeaway is that I'm just like adding this in now. But it's like find harmony in your life. Find something. I've found that after 90 days, I think I can appreciate alcohol a bit more. And all that to say, my habits are definitely going to change moving forward. I don't think I'm ever going to go back completely to the same way my relationship with alcohol before. But I think now I'm going to appreciate it a bit more. And I'm going to enjoy, the moments when I do drink. And so all that to say, guys, just remember, it's not that deep. And thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Journey to Success. Cheers to you. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Oh man, that's beautiful. Japheth said that this is the nectar of the gods, and I agree. This is beautiful. Oh my goodness. So yeah, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Check out itsnotthatdeeppodcast.com. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, please go ahead and do that. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts, check it out. I got some crazy things coming to you guys soon. And stay safe out here, and just remember, it's not that deep. Thanks so much for tuning in.